Welcome to the Sanctuary of Power in Words, a space dedicated to the belief that language is not merely a tool for communication, but a vessel for transformation. We believe that the right words, absorbed at the right moment, act as a catalyst for the soul, igniting the dormant embers of potential within us all. Today, we invite you to embark on a profound journey into one of the most mystical and psychologically layered concepts ever articulated. It is a journey that begins with a single sentence, a whisper across centuries from the 13th century Persian poet and mystic Rumi. What you seek is seeking you. At first glance, this phrase appears as a comforting poetic platitude, a soft reassurance for the weary dreamer. However, when we strip away the surface and examine this concept through the dual lenses of depth psychology and spiritual philosophy, we uncover a mechanism of reality as precise as it is magical. It suggests that the universe is not a silent vacuum where we scream our desires into the void, hoping for an echo. Rather, it implies that the universe is a hall of mirrors, a dynamic ecosystem of resonance where our internal state is constantly magnetized to external realities. This narrative explores the architecture of that connection, dissecting how our deepest longings are actually the siren calls of a destiny that is already rushing to meet us. To understand this, we must first dismantle the illusion of separation. In our modern lives, we are often plagued by a sense of lack. We perceive our goals, whether they be true love, professional success, creative fulfillment, or inner peace, as distant islands separated from us by a vast, treacherous ocean. We view ourselves as the hunters and our desires as the prey. We believe we must chase, struggle, fight, and claw our way toward these objectives. This mindset, while culturally applauded as ambition, often stems from a psychology of scarcity. When we seek from a place of desperation, we are vibrating at the frequency of absence. We are telling our subconscious mind, I do not have this. And because the human mind is a loyal servant, it works tirelessly to confirm that reality. But Rumi invites us to invert this perspective. He suggests that the desire itself is not the origin of the longing, but the symptom of a connection that already exists. You do not crave water unless your biology requires it. You do not crave a specific destiny unless your soul is comprised of the very material necessary to fulfill it. The longing you feel is the gravitational pull of the object of your desire tugging back at you. Let us consider the psychological machinery behind this phenomenon. In psychology, there is a concept known as the reticular activating system, or RAS. Located at the brainstem, this bundle of nerves acts as a gatekeeper, filtering out the noise to let the essential signal through. Your RAS is the reason why, if you decide you want to buy a specific model of a red car, you suddenly start seeing that red car everywhere on the highway. Did the number of red cars magically increase? No. They were always there, flowing in the traffic of your life. But you were blind to them because your focus was not aligned with their existence. When Rumi says, what you seek is seeking you, we can interpret this through a cognitive framework. The opportunities, the people, and the resources necessary for your growth are already present in your environment. They are seeking acknowledgement. They are waiting for your internal receiver to tune into their frequency. When you clarify your intention, when you truly begin to seek with clarity and heart, you unlock the filter. The world transforms not because it changed, but because you have begun to see the bridges that were always waiting for your step. Imagine for a moment a young woman named Elena. Elena was a writer who spent years trapped in a corporate job that drained her spirit. Nights were spent lamenting a scarcity of time, her lack of connections in the publishing industry, and her fear of rejection. She was seeking success, but she was doing so with a heart full of envy for others and pity for herself. Her seeking was a scream of, I am not enough. Consequently, she found only rejection and exhaustion. The reality she encountered confirmed her internal hypothesis. One day, after a particularly brutal rejection, Elena stopped chasing. She stopped writing to be famous and started writing to heal. She shifted her focus from the external validation she lacked to the internal abundance of stories she possessed. She began to treat her writing not as a lottery ticket, but as a sacred duty. In doing so, her energy shifted from desperation to service. 6 months later, at a coffee shop she rarely visited, She struck up a conversation with a stranger about a book she was reading. That stranger turned out to be an editor who had been looking for a specific type of voice, a voice exactly like Elena's. Was this random luck? Or was it that the moment Elena became the embodiment of a true writer, the editor who was seeking that writer could finally find her? Rumi would argue the latter. The editor was seeking Elena just as intensely as Elena was seeking the editor, but they could not meet until Elena dropped the disguise of the desperate amateur and inhabited the reality of her true self. This brings us to the most critical aspect of the equation: alignment. You cannot find what you are looking for if you are not vibrating at the level of that discovery. This is where the work of the self becomes paramount. We often think that to get what we want, we must change the world. In truth, we must change the observer. If you seek profound love, you must ask yourself, am I a vessel capable of holding profound love? Do I love myself? Do I treat others with the grace I demand? If you seek wealth, you must ask, do I have a poverty mindset? Do I secretly resent money? Do I believe I am unworthy of abundance? The external world is merely a printing press, faithfully reproducing the manuscript of your internal beliefs. What you seek is seeking you is a promise, but it is also a warning. If you seek conflict, conflict is seeking you. If you seek reasons to be offended, offenses will line up at your door. If you seek proof that the world is a cruel and dark place, the shadows will lengthen to greet you. The mechanism is neutral. It is your intention that provides the polarity. Therefore, the journey of seeking is actually a journey of becoming. We must become the person who is capable of inhabiting the life we want. This requires a profound psychological shedding. We must shed the layers of trauma, the voices of past teachers or parents who told us we were limited, and the societal conditioning that thrives on our insecurity. We have to excavate the authentic self buried beneath the debris of expectation. When we do this, we become a lighthouse. A lighthouse does not run around the island looking for boats to save. It stands tall, shines its light, and the boats find it. This is the essence of the seeking Rumi speaks of. It is a magnetic attraction. When you are fully yourself, unapologetically, creatively, and lovingly, you become a magnet for everything that is consistent with that vibration. However, we must address the difficult periods, the times when the silence is deafening and what we seek feels light years away. These are the winters of the soul. It is easy to believe in this philosophy when things are going well, but what about when we are met with failure, loss, and stagnation? A resilient psychology teaches us reframing. Perhaps the job you didn't get was not a failure of your seeking, but a protection. Perhaps the relationship that ended was not an abandonment, but a necessary clearing of space. If we truly believe that what we seek is seeking us, then we must trust the timing of the rendezvous. Sometimes the thing we want is rushing toward us, but it sees a cliff edge we cannot see, so it takes a detour to meet us safely on the other side. This requires a surrender of the ego's timeline. The ego wants it now. The soul wants it right. The gap between your desire and its manifestation is not empty space. It is a chrysalis. It is where you develop the muscles required to hold the weight of your dreams. If you were given your greatest desire today without the preparation of the struggle, it might destroy you. The seeking is mutual, but the meeting requires readiness. Let us use the metaphor of the radio. The music you want to hear is already in the room with you right now. It is existing in the form of radio waves, invisible but omnipresent. You cannot hear it, not because it is absent, but because you are not tuned to the frequency. You are tuned to the static of anxiety or the news channel of fear. The act of seeking is the act of turning the dial. It involves a conscious, deliberate choice to focus your mind on possibility rather than limitation. Every morning, you have the opportunity to calibrate your frequency. You can wake up and say, I am worried about everything that could go wrong, effectively tuning into the frequency of disaster. Or you can wake up and say, I am open to the miracles that are making their way to me. This is not passive wishful thinking. It is active psychological priming. By doing this, you sensitize your mind to notice the stepping stones that lead to your goal. You become luckier because you are more observant. You become more successful because you are more resilient. You become more loved because you are more open. There is a profound beauty in realizing that you are not alone in your pursuit. The dream you have of starting that bakery or writing that code or healing that community, that dream has its own agency. Ideas are not inanimate. They are living energies looking for a human host to bring them into the material world. Elizabeth Gilbert, the renowned author, speaks of ideas as disembodied spirits swirling around us, looking for someone to say, yes. When an idea comes to you, it is seeking you. It chose you because of your unique history, your specific talents, and your particular pain. If you say no, it will eventually move on to someone else. But if you say yes, if you enter into a partnership with that idea, you are no longer struggling alone. You are dancing. The effort becomes inspired action rather than forced labor. There is a flow, a serendipity that begins to occur. Doors open that were previously locked. Strangers offer help. Resources appear. This is the universe confirming the alliance. This is the seeking meeting the seeker. Furthermore, we must recognize the role of our shadows. Often, what we consciously seek is sabotaged by what we unconsciously fear. You may consciously seek intimacy, but unconsciously fear vulnerability. In this case, your fear is seeking protection, and it will push love away. This internal civil war creates a static signal. The universe receives a mixed message: come here and stay away. To truly activate the promise of Rumi's words, we must integrate our shadows. We must sit with our fears, acknowledge them, and gently explain to them that they are no longer needed in the driver's seat. We must heal the parts of us that believe we are unworthy of the things we seek. This is why the journey of success is inextricably linked to the journey of healing. You cannot build a skyscraper on a foundation of quicksand. As you heal, your signal becomes clear. A clear signal pierces through the noise of the world and connects instantly with its counterpart. Consider the story of a man named Arthur. Arthur was a brilliant architect who had lost his passion. He felt the industry had become soulless, obsessed with cost-cutting rather than beauty. He wanted to build homes that healed the people living in them, but no firm would hire him for such fanciful projects. He felt isolated, believing his vision was obsolete. He fell into a depression, convinced that what he sought, a career of meaning, did not exist. One afternoon, in an act of pure therapeutic expression, he began sketching designs for healing homes in a notebook, just for himself. He poured his grief and his hope into these drawings. He didn't do it to sell them. He did it because his soul required it. He left the notebook on a park bench by accident. A week later, he received a phone call. A woman had found the notebook. She wasn't just any passerby. She was a philanthropist looking to build a sanctuary for trauma survivors. She had been interviewing architects for months, but none of them understood her vision of architecture as therapy. She had been seeking exactly what Arthur had been hiding. When Arthur stopped trying to fit into the molds that rejected him and simply allowed his true self to bleed onto the page, the destiny that was seeking him could finally locate him. The notebook was the beacon. This narrative arc reminds us that we often give up right before the miracle happens. We view silence as a no when it is often a wait. The tension we feel while waiting for our dreams to manifest is the tension of the arrow being pulled back on the bowstring. The further back it is pulled, the more tension is created, but also the more potential energy is stored for the flight. The setbacks you are experiencing are not evidence of your failure. They are the gathering of momentum. What you seek is seeking you with the same intensity that the ocean seeks the shore. It is a cosmic inevitability, but you must remain on the shore. You must not pack up and leave because the tide is currently out. Faith is the ability to trust the tide when you are standing on dry sand. Ultimately, this philosophy invites us to live with a sense of joyous anticipation. Instead of waking up with a heavy dread of, I have to find a way, we wake up with the curious excitement of, I wonder how it will find me today. This shifts our biochemistry. It lowers cortisol and raises dopamine. It makes us more charismatic, more creative, and more pleasant to be around. We become people that others want to help. We become conduits for flow. The struggle changes from a battle against the world to a dance with the world. We realize that we do not need to force the door open. We only need to unlock it from the inside. As we traverse the landscape of our lives, let us hold this truth as a lantern in the dark. Let us remember that our desires are not cruel tricks played by a biological imperative, but are the compass needles pointing us toward our true north. The longing you feel for a better life is the better life trying to pull you into it. The thirst for knowledge is the knowledge waiting to be known. The hunger for love is the love waiting to be given. You are not a solitary wanderer lost in a chaotic cosmos. You are half of a whole, constantly moving toward completion. The universe is not indifferent to you. It is intimately involved in your unfolding. It is orchestrating meetings, planting ideas, and arranging coincidences. It is whispering in your ear through intuition and nudging you through inspiration. So, stop running. Cease the breathless chase. Stand still in the center of your own worthiness. Build the garden of your soul with such care, such beauty, and such authenticity that the butterflies have no choice but to land. Trust that the signal you are sending is being received. Trust that the package has been dispatched and is currently in transit. The delay is not a denial. It is the distance required for the stars to align. You are known, you are seen, and exactly what you have been looking for, in the deepest, most silent chambers of your heart, is at this very moment, racing across time and space to find you. The door was never locked. You were just standing on the wrong side of the threshold. If these words found a home in your heart, please take a moment to like this content and subscribe to Power in Words to continue this journey with us and receive more positive energy every day.